I am sure we have all seen these gorgeous robes by Catherine Delish. They are sometimes called sugar daddy robes or feathered robes, but they are these lush, over-the-top things, and I decided that I am going to try and make my own by using the free hibiscus pattern from Mood Fabrics. To assemble these patterns, you just print them out and tape the pieces together and then cut the whole thing out so you have all of your pieces, and then you are ready to cut it out of your fabric. I am using a tricot fabric, which is a little bit of a tighter weave than a tulle, but not quite as tight as a chiffon. This fabric was also used in those old Hollywood robes of the 1950s, so I thought it was really appropriate to use it for this robe. Because it is a more slippery fabric, you are going to want to pin your pattern to the fabric or use a heavier weight like I am when you cut it out. A really important component to the robe is the sleeves. Now the sleeves are actually a giant circle, so this takes about 7 yards, and most of the fabric is going to be used in your super dramatic sleeves, which is how you get that super cascadey look on the finished product. So you are definitely going to want to make sure you have enough fabric to make the portion of the sleeves and then the rest of it as well. It also has an optional back panel to make it a little bit fuller, and I went ahead and added it in so you were seeing all of the pattern pieces. And then at the very end, I cut the top portion of the sleeve and the bodice, and again I cut the bodice a little bit larger so you can have that really pretty ruching when you put the belt over it, and gives it kind of like a more elegant fit to it. Once you are done with that, then it is time to assemble, and I am using a French seam, and basically that is where you sew it on one side, and then as you see here, I am going to turn it and then encase all of the raw edges onto the other side and stitch it down. This is the nicest way to make it look good because you're using a sheer fabric and you're going to see all of your seams, so you really want to hide those raw edges. You could also use an overlock stitch, but because I didn't want to have all of that thread showing, I decided to French seam every single seam on this. I know that it seems like a really time-consuming way to do your seams, but I promise it will look really nice when you're done. You can press this fabric on a really low heat setting, but don't get it too high because I did melt some panels and had to recut from scrap. Once you are done stitching it together, it's gonna look like this. I added the belt to give the effect of it being finished. Now, once you're here, you don't need to hem your ends because you are actually going to cover it in about 14 yards of feathers. Now, feathers don't come in yardage, they come in boas. So I used about 7 boas because I need 14 yards. And this is where it gets tricky because it is all hand sewing from here. There is no shortcut to this. You have to hand sew it. I'm using a regular sewing needle and I'm going through the cord that's in the center of the boa and then through the fabric and back. And this is a really time-consuming portion of the project. It might be helpful to pin down all of your feathers and then sew it, but you're definitely going to want to make sure you have a sewing buddy with you as well. And then I went ahead and added the removable belt. This portion is just a placeholder for when I get the satin belt in. This is what she ends up looking like once you're done hand sewing all those feathers on. As you can see, it has a super dramatic cascading sleeve. It has beautiful feathers along the bottom. I did go ahead and add that extra panel in the back to make it a little bit fuller, but I'm really happy with it and I hope you guys enjoy.